Welcome, curious minds, to another deep dive.
Great to be here.
We're about to pull back the curtain on a story that's been, well, really building with some serious intensity in the world of Formula One,
Wow.
specifically concerning a certain, very well-known Scuderia Ferrari driver.
Charles Leclerc, of course.
Exactly. Today, we're plunging into a whole stack of fascinating insights pulled directly from the heart of the Italian press. We're talking renowned journalists, the big names from outlets like Corriere della Sera, detailed analysis from Sky Italia, and some sharp commentary from soymotor.com as well.
Right. Sources right there on the ground, close to the team.
Precisely. And our mission today is really to understand the mounting pressure, the profound emotional toll, and maybe the critical career-defining decisions facing one of F1's brightest, most, let's be honest, beloved talents.
Yeah, he really did.
He's probably heard the whispers, maybe caught some headlines, but we want to go beyond just the surface noise, really get into the complex situation that's led to some, frankly, pretty drastic advice being publicly offered.
And what's immediately striking when you look at these sources, especially the Italian ones, is it's not just cold, hard performance analysis. Not at all.
Yeah.
There's this deep, almost palpable emotional undercurrent surrounding Charles Leclerc's whole time at Ferrari.
Yeah.
It feels like genuine concern, almost like a collective plea.
A plea. That's interesting.
Yeah, and it really makes you question that enduring tension between, well, loyalty on one side and raw ambition on the other in elite sports. It's never easy.
No, it really isn't. And it's that central theme, that plea you mentioned, that really sparked this deep dive for us. It's all encapsulated by this phrase a journalist, Giorgio Terruzzi, used in Corriere della Sera.
Ah, yes, I know the one.
Salvar al soldado Leclerc.
Mm.
Save soldier Leclerc.
Mm.
It's just an incredibly powerful, evocative image, isn't it? Like, he's under siege, needs rescue.
Absolutely. It sets a dramatic tone right away.
So, okay, let's unpack this Save soldier Leclerc mantra. What does it really signify here? Giorgio Terruzzi, who is, a highly respected voice in F1 journalism, known for his deep dives, especially on figures like Senna.
Right. He has that historical perspective.
Exactly. He didn't just suggest Leclerc maybe consider other options. He basically advised Charles Leclerc to flee Ferrari.
Flee. That's a strong word.
It really is. And not just think about it for 2026 when his contract is up, but to start actively planning now for a move to another team, maybe targeting 2027. It's not just exit strategy talk. It feels like a desperate call for escape.
That is truly dramatic advice.
Yeah.
And it makes you ask why.
Yeah.
Why such an extreme recommendation?
Yeah.
Terruzi's article, which soymotor.com also highlighted quite a bit, it paints this picture of Leclerc being completely exhausted.
Exhausted. Wow.
Yeah, and desperately needing an emotional boost. He describes seeing Leclerc's face at Monza, and he says it's a look he's witnessed many times. Too many times.
Oh, man.
Revealing, as he puts it, a boy incapable of accepting resignation, yet his whole demeanor, his expressions, posture, even his tone, it all betrays someone resigned to a boring present, a future devoid of opportunities.
That's almost tragic, isn't it? A talent like his feeling resigned.
It really is. Like his potential is just being slowly eroded by the circumstances around him.
And here's where it really, really hits home for me. Terruzzi goes even further. He compares Leclerc's relationship with Ferrari to a marriage that no longer knows how to stay afloat.
Oof.
Yeah. That hopes and wishes, but deep down doesn't believe. Just think about that for a second. It's such a poignant analogy, right?
It really is. It speaks volumes, doesn't it?
Yeah.
About the huge emotional investment Leclerc has clearly poured into that team.
Totally.
And then the stark contrast with the agonizing lack of actual championship success in return. It frames it not just as a job, but as this deeply personal struggle.
Yeah, struggle is the right word.
And, that sentiment, that feeling of a relationship in crisis, it's echoed elsewhere. Mara San Giorgio from Sky Italia, who's, generally seen as being pretty close to Leclerc.
Right.
She observed that while Leclerc still believes, and, he repeatedly proves he's probably the most in love with Ferrari, to the point of tenderness, she says.
Tenderness, wow.
But there are clear signs that his confidence is starting to wane. And if you connect that to the bigger psychological picture, it just highlights this profound internal conflict he must be going through.
Absolutely. Caught between this deep affection, this almost unconditional love for the Scuderia, and the harsh, demoralizing reality of their ongoing struggles to actually give him a car capable of winning a title.
It's that classic dilemma, isn't it, for so many top athletes? How long do you stay loyal to the dream, especially when the dream just keeps seeming to slip further away?
And we've all seen the public side of this battle, haven't we? Leclerc's answers in press conferences, sometimes just monosyllabic. Or that really stark, simple none. When someone asked him what good he took from the first part of the season after, I think it was losing that victory in Hungary.
Yeah, I remember that. It was brutal. Just none.
It says so much, doesn't it? These aren't just off days. They feel like moments of just profound frustration bubbling to the surface.
Exactly. And he's been dealing with this roller coaster, this hope and disappointment, since basically 2019.
Right, since he arrived.
Consistently declaring his unwavering love for the team, despite what you can only really call a constant storm of, well, underperformance, strategic errors, organizational instability.
It's been a lot.
It has. Imagine the sheer mental strength needed just to keep going, to publicly maintain that loyalty when, as these sources are suggesting, he must be absolutely pounding his fist behind closed doors.
Yeah, you have to assume so. It really paints a picture of someone internally just battling to stay afloat, trying to reconcile his own immense talent with his team's persistent shortcomings.
Okay, so the emotional toll is one thing, and it's a powerful narrative on its own, but maybe the most, brutal assessment of Leclerc's situation comes from the numbers.
Ah, the stats. They don't lie, do they?
They really don't.
Yeah.
And our sources lay out some truly sobering statistics when you compare him to his contemporaries. It's here that the story of unfulfilled potential really, really crystallizes.
Yeah, the direct comparisons the sources make are stark, to say the least. So Charles Leclerc debuted in F1, 2018 with Sauber?
Right.
Moved to Ferrari in 2019, won races pretty quickly. Max Verstappen, his big rival since forever, karting days.
Yeah, generational rivals.
Exactly. He actually started his F1 career earlier, back in 2015. But even if we just focus on their careers from 2018 onwards, the point where Leclerc actually entered the sport, the divergence in their paths is just massive. Okay, let's break it down because these numbers are genuinely eye-opening. Almost painful, really, when you look at them side by side, specifically from 2018 when Leclerc started.
Go for it.
Right. Wins. Charles Leclerc has 8 career victories. Max Verstappen, 63.
63.
That's not a gap, it's a chasm. It just highlights a fundamental difference in the machinery they've had year after year.
Absolutely. Consistent front-running car versus not.
Podiums. Leclerc, 48 times on the podium. Verstappen, 108 podium finishes.
More than double. Just relentless consistency from Max and Red Bull.
Poles. Okay, Leclerc is often praised as maybe the best qualifier on the grid, right? He has 27 poles. Verstappen has 45.
Still a significant difference, even in what many consider Leclerc's strongest area.
Exactly. And then the big one, World Championships. Leclerc has 0. Max Verstappen has 4 already.
And according to these same sources, likely heading for a 5th this year.
Just think about the legacy impact of that disparity alone. 4, maybe 5 to 0.
It's huge. And these figures, just comparing him to Max, are concerning enough. But what's really alarming, and something the sources heavily emphasize, is that it's not just Verstappen anymore.
Right, that's the scary part.
The comparisons get even more painful when you look at other rising talents. Some younger, some who debuted significantly later than Leclerc.
Like Lando Norris.
Exactly. Lando debuted a full year after Leclerc 2019. He already has 9 wins to Leclerc's 8.
Ouch. More wins, started later.
Yep. Now, Leclerc still leads in podiums, 48 versus 39 for Lando, and poles, 27 versus 13. But, and this is the kicker, the sources highlight this startling projection, Norris could realistically contend for the championship this year.
Leaving Leclerc still without a title, that would be tough to swallow.
Incredibly tough. A driver who started later already has more wins, and potentially wins a title first. That's a stark indicator for Leclerc.
And then there's Piastri.
Ah, Oscar Piastri. Perhaps the most jarring comparison. He only debuted in 2023.
Just last year, basically.
A year and a half ago. He already has 9 wins to Leclerc's 8.
Wow.
Now again, Leclerc has more career podiums, 48 to 24, and poles, 27 to 5. But Piastri is currently leading the championship
Leading it now.
and is projected by these same journalists to win it this season.
Okay, just pause on that. A driver with only a year-and-a-half experience, potentially a world champion before Leclerc, who's been at the sharp end, mostly, for 6 full seasons.
It's the kind of comparison that must be incredibly difficult for any top athlete, let alone one like Leclerc, to process.
So what do these numbers, all taken together, really mean for Leclerc's legacy, his future at Ferrari? By next year, he's set to become the second longest tenured Ferrari driver in history, 8 seasons. Only Michael Schumacher had more with 11.
Incredible loyalty or persistence, depending how you look at it.
But Schumacher in his tenure brought 5 world championships back to Maranello.
The ultimate success.
Kimi Raikkonen and Felipe Massa also had 8 seasons with Ferrari, but significantly no titles in that period either.
That's a worrying parallel, isn't it?
It really is. The data just paints this clear and increasingly urgent picture of deep frustration. Massive unfulfilled potential. He's dedicating his prime racing years, showing huge loyalty, undeniable talent.
Absolutely top-tier talent.
But the results, especially when you benchmark them against his direct peers, they just aren't there. It really begs the question, how much more can one driver give? How long can this go on? And it's not just about what's happening on the track or the pressure building inside Leclerc's head. The sources also reveal something else pretty significant and, frankly, quite alarming. Turmoil within Ferrari's engineering departments. This behind-the-scenes drama, it directly impacts the car Leclerc drives, right? And therefore his ability to actually fight for those wins and championships.
Absolutely. If you connect this to the bigger picture, F1's success is always this delicate, intricate balance. Driver talent, strategy, sure, but absolutely cutting-edge engineering is fundamental.
Foundational.
Exactly. And the sources confirm what they're calling an exodus of absolutely key people from Ferrari's crucial technical departments. Specifically, 2 really important figures from the engine department, Wolf Zimmermann and Lars Schmith, are leaving to join Audi.
Okay, and these aren't just junior engineers.
Not at all. Zimmermann is described as like the father of the current engine, head of IC research and development. Schmith is the technical head of IC development.
Wow. So the core guys.
These are not minor losses. The sources call them P people heavyweights. They're the foundational architects of Ferrari's engine program. Losing them is like, well, like losing your lead designers just as you're planning your next big build. The institutional knowledge walking out the door is immense.
It was huge.
And it raises the question, what's the broader impact? Is it just these 2?
Apparently not. The Italian press also mentioned Enrico Cardiel. He's already gone, moved to Aston Martin, a rival.
Right, adding strength to a competitor.
Yeah, and maybe even more concerning, Enrico Gualtieri, who is the current head of engines. He's reportedly being actively courted by Mercedes and other top teams.
Oh boy, if he leaves.
If he leaves, the Italian press dramatically calls it an hecatombe, a catastrophe for Ferrari. It would leave a gaping hole right at the top of their power unit division.
That's a massive potential blow.
And the list, unfortunately, seems to continue. Anastasi, who heads up cooling development, he's also identified as a target for Mercedes.
And cooling is critical, especially next year.
Exactly. New regulations coming into effect next year are going to place significant, really complex demands on cooling systems, both for the combustion engine and the electrical components. Losing someone with Anastasi's specific expertise right now, that could be a major setback, could compromise performance, reliability.
The fundamentals.
Right.
Now, Ferrari has brought in some specialists from Mercedes and Alpine trying to fill gaps. But this level of senior technical turnover, it just creates profound instability, doesn't it? Especially with crucial regulation changes just around the corner. It feels less like a smooth transition and more like a revolving door in really critical departments.
And what's truly fascinating, and maybe deeply troubling from Leclerc's perspective, is the timing of all this.
Yeah.
He's looking at a future with a team facing major rule shifts that demand innovation, stability, experience, while at the same time, that team is losing some of its most experienced and critical technical minds.
It's like trying to build a house during an earthquake while your best builders are leaving. Exactly. That kind of uncertainty, that foundational instability, it surely doesn't inspire confidence for a driver who's already questioning things, is already described as exhausted. It's a compounding problem. It makes Ferrari's path forward look increasingly difficult and Leclerc's position increasingly precarious.
So you take all these factors, Leclerc's personal frustration, those really painful performance comparisons, Ferrari's very public internal struggles, and they all seem to converge on one incredibly exciting, if potentially chaotic, prospect for us F1 fans.
You mean the silly season?
Exactly. What promises to be maybe an unprecedented silly season next year, that whole tumultuous period of driver market speculation, team shakeups, it could genuinely redefine the entire grid.
And if you connect it to the bigger picture, the sheer number of top drivers whose contracts are expiring in the coming year is just extraordinary. We're talking huge names: Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen, Fernando Alonso, even Lance Stroll potentially in play.
That's a lot of talent potentially on the move.
It really is. This convergence creates this rare, incredibly dynamic opportunity for major shifts across the grid. And crucially, the sources suggest that if Ferrari doesn't show significant improvement soon, Leclerc might actually have a performance clause in his current contract.
An escape clause.
Potentially. One that could allow him to leave early. This kind of widespread availability of elite talent is truly unusual, and it makes Leclerc a central, highly coveted piece of this whole puzzle.
And the sources are suggesting Mercedes and Aston Martin could be the most coveted seats on the grid.
That seems to be the consensus, yeah. The teams with momentum or potential.
Now, can you just imagine some of the hypothetical scenarios being floated? These are wild, but Leclerc and Verstappen as teammates at Mercedes.
Whoa. Okay, that's fireworks guaranteed.
Right. Or how about Leclerc alongside Alonso, or maybe even Verstappen at Aston Martin?
These are crazy ideas, as SoyMotor.com called them. They sound like fan fiction, honestly.
Totally. But they are now actually part of the serious conversation in the paddock. It's the kind of speculation that, sends shivers down team principals' spines, but gets fans incredibly excited because it hints at a genuine, massive shakeup.
And what's particularly fascinating here is the potential ripple effect across the entire grid. It wouldn't just be about Leclerc. Even a driver like Lando Norris, for example.
Yeah.
He might start looking elsewhere if he feels he can't realistically win a title at McLaren, especially if Piastri keeps up this strong trajectory.
Right. The inter-team dynamic could push him.
Exactly. He, too, might eye one of those coveted seats at Mercedes or Aston Martin, or maybe elsewhere if a top drive opens up. This kind of potential movement involving such an elite group of drivers all at once is highly unusual in F1.
Very rare.
And it makes Leclerc's situation even more critical. His decision, or even just the perception that he might move, could trigger a chain reaction, a domino effect that reshapes the driver lineup for years to come. He's truly at the epicenter of what could be the biggest driver market earthquake we've seen in recent F1 history.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener, as you're following the season? It means Charles Leclerc, despite his declared love, his undeniable loyalty to the Scarlet Red, he is undeniably at a major crossroads.
A career-defining one.
Absolutely. The Italian press, essentially his home crowd, is practically shouting for him to escape to save his career before Ferrari's deep-seated internal issues completely derail his championship hopes. It's just this compelling human drama playing out on a global stage. Every decision he makes in the coming months, maybe the next year, could fundamentally redefine his career, his legacy, and honestly, the very landscape of Formula One itself. So there you have it, a deep dive into the really complex, often quite emotional world of Charles Leclerc, Scuderia Ferrari, and the always volatile F1 paddock.
Yeah, we covered a lot of ground there.
We explored that desperate emotional plea from the Italian press to save Soldier Leclerc. We dissected those brutal, pretty undeniable statistical comparisons to his closest rivals.
The numbers really paint a picture.
And we peeked behind the curtain at that significant, potentially destabilizing engineer exodus happening right now at Ferrari.
All critical factors in his decision-making process, you'd have to think. And this deep dive, it really raises an important question for you, our listener, to maybe ponder.
Yeah.
In a sport where loyalty is so often lauded, romanticized even, but where ultimate success is absolutely paramount, what would you do if you were in Charles Leclerc's shoes right now?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Is staying to fight for a team you clearly deeply love worth sacrificing the very real prospect of championship glory elsewhere? Especially when the internal foundations of that team, well, they appear to be shaking pretty profoundly.
It's that classic dilemma, right? Love versus ambition, loyalty versus perhaps unparalleled opportunity.
A tough choice for anyone.
It really is. We'll certainly be watching how this incredibly compelling story unfolds. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.
Thanks for having me.
Keep those minds curious, and if you enjoyed this in-depth exploration, please do remember to subscribe to this deep dive for more insights like this. We'll see you next time.